We on air yet?
Oh, it's a Beantown Sports Wolfcast. Oh, the VSW podcast proudly presents feature presentation featuring the hub of all four Boston sports teams, the Beantown Sports
Without further
Wolfcast.
introduction, the man behind the stats, Disable Wolf.
Disciple here. Welcome everybody for the first time ever you seen the Wolf's face, whether you're at a wrestling event or a Boston sports event, and welcome to the VSW presents the Beantown Sports Wolfcast. And today, before we get into the graphics, today we are going to talk about the Wolf. Like a lot of Bostonians are very disappointed after the horrendous effort of the Patriots defense. We'll go over their heartbreaking wild card loss to the Buffalo Bills. We'll also talk about the Bruins are on a hot streak. Until tonight, they are retired first ever African American player Willie O'Ree's number tonight, and the Celtics look to get on track and start their winning ways again. Find out all this and more right now on the Beantown Sports Wolfcast.
And here we go, folks, with another great episode presented by the VSW podcast. As you know, I am the Versace Stoner. You can find me and Disable Wolf multiple nights on multiple locations talking professional wrestling, sports, now gaming, movies, all sorts of things.
Absolutely. Like, it's a very exciting time for the VSW.
It really, really is. And, I'm very excited for all that's going to be coming up and on ahead. But you know what? What's not exciting was that playoff game on Saturday. No excitement at all for that.
Not at all, especially coming in. I thought it was going to be, not going to lie to you guys. This was the rubber match between the third meeting of the season. They played their first meeting on a Monday night game, right? And they came away with the win. But the second meeting, the day after Christmas, mild day, they couldn't stop the Bills defense. It was a 33-22 loss, I believe. And then I thought that Bill Belichick teams, especially playing them for a third time, would be prepared like the way they were. I thought their defense would be ready. I thought they would learn to pass rush Josh Allen. None of that happened. None of my predictions were right. I'll
No, I
admit.
mean honestly, Wolf, we were way off. I mean, we both kind of called it being a close game, and that just wasn't really it. It's
Oh,
kind of it's
absolutely.
kind of too bad in that sense that I mean, I wish they gave a better fight.
Oh, me too. Don't get me wrong. But the Bills were ready. You didn't see the Pats use the running game. Mac Jones could have threw for 6 touchdowns Saturday night, and they still wouldn't have won.
No, probably not. It wasn't just about the offense. The defense was just terrible, Wolf. Just
Oh my
terrible.
God. For all those veterans out there, you think they would know what to do in situations like this. And guys like Uche and Winkovich that they could have used on defense to sub in guys like Hightower or Judon. They weren't out. I don't know if it was due to injuries. They weren't able to play.
Yeah, you don't know what it is. And they didn't mention what's up with that. Why they didn't play.
No, they was looking up the injury report, and there wasn't a there was a lot of guys that were able to play, like Damian Harris was able to play, but he didn't get his 100 yards and 3 touchdowns this time around.
Really.
Really,
You know, like I said, I mean,
it was a 47. 17 defeat. Josh Allen threw not once, not twice, not three times, not even four. Five touchdown passes against the depleted Patriots defense.
Deflated.
Yeah.
Yeah, now the tables have turned. Now the balls are not deflated. The defense is deflated. But
Like you had
that's
guys
something.
played while injured, like Kyle Duggar. The first drive were really bad. The Pat Josh Allen rushed, burned our zone through a 30-yard rush to set up a touchdown to Dawson Knox. You could tell Kyle Duggar was wearing a cast the whole time when he
I mean,
was playing, right?
I'm not gonna lie. It had to me a WWE feel to it, which means I got very discouraged halfway through
Oh,
and
I know,
turned
me
it
too. I
off
was
and
starting
put
to fall asleep,
something
not
else
gonna lie.
on. I was all done. Kind of like what I do with the WWE pay per views,
Oh, I know.
But like I said, I wasn't expecting a win. It would have been a miracle kind of win, but
Like I was
I
expecting a
was
close.
expecting a match.
Me too. Like you saw on the if you watched any of the NFL on CBS pregame with Boomer, JB, and Burleson and all those guys, they were and Coach Cowa, they predicted that the most they would have. They all predicted the Bills to win, but they predicted it would be at 12 points at most. Some of them had them by 7, some had it by 10. Like I thought if the Pats would lose, it'd be by no less than 2 touchdowns because I knew Buffalo was the better team coming in. Obviously, Pats are a young team. Mac Jones was able to play well and finish up the year strong in the fourth quarter, but it doesn't matter when they say defense wins championships. Am I right?
It is true. I mean, it's all about the defense. I mean, we can talk about that. I mean, look at one of my favorite all time boxers, Money Mayweather. This guy has won matches because of his excellent defense. We've
Absolutely.
seen we've seen Patriots have an excellent defense in the past. We've seen them break excellent defenses with amazing offense in
I
the
miss the
past.
guys like Teddy Bruschi, Roosevelt Colvin, Willie McGinnis, Ty Law.
Yeah,
I fought the law.
I mean, who's the big guy there too? We had for a minute.
We
Uh,
had a We had Gerard Mayo, who was actually a linebacker coach, surprisingly, with a linebacker coach that played for the Patriots. Who would have thought they would get burnt out by not only Josh Allen, but they small running back Devin Singletary had a few touchdowns on them.
oh yeah. You know, and like I said, we've seen it the other way where our offense has been so good that it doesn't even matter the opponent's defense. We've
It's like it.
burned it
I know
away.
people don't remember, but their 2007 and 8 defenses weren't the greatest. It's just that record-breaking 2007 year when they went undefeated in the regular season, and unfortunately lost to that David Tyree catch and the Eli Manning and the New York Giants and Michael Strahan. Their defense was getting burnt a lot. We didn't realize when you had the greatest offense on turf, Brady had Wes Welker, he had Randy Moss to throw to.
But I mean, don't forget, we've had good defense. We had Vince Wilfork, Willie McGinnis. We had these kind of
Brad Mayo.
players. We've had like you said, Teddy Bruschi, one of my all time favorite
Oh, I
players.
love Teddy
You
Bruschi.
know,
You can
we've
see
even
him as an analyst on ESPN NFL Countdown.
we even had people like Rodney Harrison, McCourtney,
Oh, I loved
Ty
Rodney.
Law. We've even had.
Oh,
You
Ty
know,
Law was a great. He opened up a trampoline place down the street from me, but that
you
didn't
talk
last as
even
long
back in the
as
day. You
NFL.
had people like Steve Nelson, old timer. I
Oh
mean, we've
man,
had good defense. This just isn't a year for it. And our offense, yeah, we talked a lot in that preview about their running game being great, but it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough
but
to outscore. And
we
it was
all know the Patriots didn't have a chance. They were down 7-0. Like I said, you could tell Kyle Duggar was playing through a broken hand. He's a tough son of a bitch. You could tell like Josh Allen faded that pass if you watch the first quarter, and Dawson Knox was able to take advantage of the fact that Duggar couldn't get his arm up. He might have picked it off if he was healthy. But what was the real turning point is the Pats looked like they were gonna they were going to start to score again. They had a nice deep pass from Mac Jones to tight end that we got from the Chargers this offseason, Hunter Henry. But he tried to throw a deep 50-yard pass to Nelson Aguilar. It was picked off by new all pro safety who's been a leader for the Bills all season, Micah Hyde, one of their best players on defense. And
Yep.
that was the turning point. Even though the Pats got killed, that was the real turning point of the whole game. And obviously, when you give up a touchdown on turnovers, at least 60% of the time, you don't win those games if a team not only gets turnovers, but is able to capitalize on scoring possessions in all of them.
Well, I mean, that's the truth right there. That's the absolute truth right there. But going into this, like I said, we talked about it again. I'll emphasize. We kind of thought it'd be a lot closer of a game. I even believe like the pro people actually thought it'd be a less of a score overall game.
Oh, yeah.
I remember you throwing that number around during that preview event. Um, but no, the unthinkable happened. Buffalo destroyed us in the playoffs. I mean, like I said, this is unthinkable because imagine like you said, back in the day in the 2000 eras of Brady, that Buffalo would be beating us in the playoffs.
Oh, I know. And they even showed it. Buffalo did play Tampa Bay this year, and they haven't lost since they lost it by Tom Brady in overtime to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've won every game since. What really got people heartbroken, Versace, is if you remember, the Pats struggled to begin the season, losing a lot of these close games, including their first three games at home to the Dolphins, which they should have won with the Harris fumble, the New Orleans Saints, and Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which they nearly won if Nick Folk's weather didn't affect his long kick. Like, then they went on to a 6 game winning streak. But we had my friends from Tennessee talking about how not only did they not have Derrick Henry when they played the now number one seed Tennessee Titans, they were missing Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. And they also played the Cleveland Browns without Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, the best 1-2 running duo in the whole NFL.
So I mean,
So
there you have it.
some people may have looked back and think this team overachieved, which I think they're at the right record. But I am optimistic about next year. A lot of people weren't.
No, we made it as farther than some people probably even thought. A lot of people probably thought we
I
wouldn't
had
even
them at 10 and
be
7,
in
believe it or not.
playoff territory.
Yeah, yeah. So what happened after that turnover, Such is Josh Allen was able to complete to most of his receivers, including Isaiah McKenzie for 19 yards, and then he had another touchdown pass from the goal line to Dawson Knox for his second of the night, right to in the first quarter's not even over.
And that's the problem right there. You know, but it was a tough loss.
Exactly. In the next drive, they tried to hope Damian Harris could rekindle his magic he has against those Bills. They may have lost to Buffalo the day after Christmas, but Damian Harris rushed for 140 yards and 3 touchdowns that game. And in the next drive, after they were down 14-0, they gave the ball to him 3 times. They ended up having a punt. Talk about who had the better game plan, Belichick or McDermott. I think it was McDermott.
You might be right there, and I think Belichick is starting to get a little criticism.
Big time. I think he knows what he's doing for the long run with the team. I know it's hard to
Oh,
believe,
I know. I mean, I know he knows what he's doing, but I mean, I think just even with
but
the
I don't know
whole
if his son on defense knows what he's doing with the play call. He's too busy making facial expressions drooling.
well, I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing, Wolf. But I mean, this is gonna be another. This is gonna be another year where we're not even in the. We didn't even make it to the second round of the playoffs.
Oh, I know it. I
You know,
know it indeed.
something that would almost never happen under Brady's command.
Oh, not at all.
But it's something we kind of got to live with this year. Let me ask you this now. They're out. Who do you want to see take it all, Wolf? Who do you want to see win
Who
the
do I
whole thing?
want to see take it all? Oh, this is a hard question, Versace. Maybe I would like to see either the winner of Cincinnati and Tennessee. Holy shit, the Bengals won a playoff game, and their quarterback was a million times better than Andy Dalton. As I was, if you catch my chaotic podcast with Versace last night, there's a Israeli redhead wrestler who's a new student from the immigrant to the USA. Looks just like Andy Dalton in the chaotic crowd. Let them know about it. So, and Cincinnati won their first playoff game in 31 years. You couldn't even text when the last time they won a playoff game.
But let me ask you something. Speaking of Bengals fans, all of that, it was kind of funny. Our longtime friend, door salesman there, Mike, had the Bengals jacket on, did he not?
Yeah, and ironically, our friend Ponyboy, who we invited to Chaotic, who's a great softball player, loves my cousin. That's how we met. Was a Las Vegas Raiders fan, and they were playing each other first game right before the Patriots.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And like I said, but I was just surprised because I always figured Mike to be a hometown boy. Um, but yeah, um, I don't know who I want to win. I'm gonna let you know at the end of this episode who I want to win the whole thing.
Okay, so we will talk about football, but are you cool if I go into some Bruins and Celtics, Versace?
Yeah, definitely go into that, and then we will go into the full playoff picture.
Yeah, and I would like to congratulate Willie O'Ree, the long time Boston Bruin, the first ever NHL player to break the color barrier. He doesn't get as much credit like Jackie Robinson and Hank Aaron do for baseball, but I'd like to congratulate them for breaking the color barrier. He did a lot of community outreach in his hometown, Washington, after he retired to recruit African Americans, Latinos, and other ethnicities to play the great game of hockey. And they retired his number tonight. And before that, the Bruins were on a hot fire streak. But right
Really?
now they're 6-1. Tuukka Rask was back. Everyone was so excited. As if you know, Tuukka shops at the Whole Foods that the Wolf works at, so I've seen him quite a bit.
Oh yes, I was actually working one night when he did show up. Believe it or not. Back
Yeah,
in the day when I used to work there in the prepared food section, he actually was buying something from the bakery.
he usually buys a lot from the meat department. Guy's taller in person.
Oh
Really
yeah,
nice, down to earth guy. I'll admit the Wolf was starstruck when he first met him, but I'm way past that now.
we meet a lot of stars, recently. We meet a lot
Exactly.
of them all the time. You're meeting stars. You're talking to people that are constantly on TV.
And
Almost every time we go to a show, somebody that you see there is been on TV.
I know. How, crazy. Well, the Bruins winning streak started against the former back-to-back Stanley Cup I shouldn't say former. They're the back-to-back 2020 and 2021 Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning, which a lot of people from the Wolves' hometown flew there, stayed the weekend. Some went to the Bucks game the day after, or they went to that dreadful Patriots Dolphins House of Horrors matchup in Miami. But they went to the Bruins game led by Brad Marchand and David Pasternak. And this is what started. So all last year in the postseason and beginning of this season, the three best Bruins players, newly captain Patrice Bergeron, since as you know, Zdeno Chara, traded to the Capitals last year, who is a long time. He's tall as fuck and has the world's greatest slap shot, legit. And you had David Pastrnak score the first goals. They paired him with Taylor Hall. They changed the lines up instead of having the three best players, Marchand, Pasta, and Bergeron one night. They moved Pasta to the second line, and it's been working wonders since.
Really? Makes that
Yeah,
much of it so like a line change can make that much of a difference in hockey.
apparently so. Very true because they the fact that they killed Tampa Bay, the Wolves only Bruins game he went to so far this year was against the Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning, which they gave up a one timer to one of the best hockey players, Steven Stamkos.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting. Interesting. Um, Tampa, they do better. They do better than the Buccaneers. Then I take it.
yeah, just about. They've won the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row. Ever since Tom Brady, there's an interesting statistic on from Tom Brady's birth of where he lives that some teams win. He was born in the San Francisco area, so he grew up a 49ers fan, and the 49ers were killing it, winning titles all the time. And he won in the 90s. He went to school at the University of Michigan, Go Blue, Ann Arbor, Michigan Wolverines. So the Detroit Red Wings were tearing it up in the Pistons, and obviously not the Lions. But and obviously he moved to Boston. We became successful, and now that he's in Tampa Bay, not only are the did the Bucks win the Super Bowl and are most likely on the path to win another one. I'll talk about who I want to win and who I think's going to win at towards the end of this Wolfcast. But you have the Tampa Bay Rays making it to the World Series last year, and they won the AL East again this year. So I wonder if it's a blessing whenever Tom Brady moves to a city.
It might be. This man is gold. A lot of people think he's not even a mere human.
Oh,
They
I
say
know.
he's a god. And when he was here, he did godly things for us. We saw him do things that no other quarterback can do. He
Yeah,
always
but
had something up his sleeve, and we always had a chance, no matter what. If Tom Brady was in the game, we always had a chance to win. And we don't have that now. It is kind of sad, but you're right. Wherever he is, victories, gold, championships, it all follows along.
absolutely. So that was the first game beating the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they shut down Steven Stamkos. Second game, they played the Washington Capitals. Another great player, Alexander Ovechkin, one of the best hockey players of the game, along with Sidney Crosby the past 10 to 15 years. So they start off losing 2-0 with Craig Sherry scoring the first two goals. They were down 2-0 to Washington. Then you guessed it, the power play, Pasternak score. Then Brad Marchand scores, tying it at 2-2. Then Grzelcyk scores 3-2. Craig Smith. Then Pasta gets a second goal. And then Hula. And then Marchand for their seventh goal. They did give up a goal to TJ Oshie, though. But those two players, those three players are really good for the Bruins. They don't often get credit like some of the guys like Sidney Crosby or Alexander Ovechkin get.
No, they don't.
They only outshot him once, but they outscored him 7-3. That's like a first quarter football score.
It is.
Absolutely, they outwon him in the face-offs, but they got out hit by Washington by 8.
You know,
But Pasternak and Marchand is a big part of the Bruins' winning streak. And the Bruins were before the whole COVID break shut down the season for a week. The Bruins longer because they had the most COVID issues. They also play the Montreal Canadiens next on the 12th, which Brad Marchand records a hat trick, killing the dirty Les Habs. The Montreal Canadiens are such a disgusting franchise, Versace.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Their logo looks like a red toilet seat. If you can't unsee that now, right?
no, now it's stuck in my head.
Don't We'll have to tell our good friend BRG when we see him at a next show.
We will. We'll have to let him
In
know.
case you guys aren't aware of the wrestling stuff, there is a wrestler whose family's from Quebec. He moved to New England, I think, years ago. Diehard Canadians fan. So when I wore a Bruins hat and he interacted, he he often get tries so hard to be a prick, and he ripped my Bruins hat apart and thrown it down
He
the ground,
did.
saying, "Shut up! I hate the Bruins." BRG, you were there with me, Versace. You witnessed it.
I was. That was at NCW's. Was it WrestleFest?
Yeah, WrestleFest, their last
And
one.
he went right over to you. He saw that hat. He grabbed it, threw it on the ground, and he went crazy over it.
He's like a 5-year-old then when he doesn't get his
Oh
way.
yeah, he when he don't
How
get his own way,
prestigious.
it was ugly. It was really ugly, and yeah,
Brad
you know,
Marchand
but
make the big.
his
No matter
team.
how bad the Canadians are, they always try to give the Bruins a hard time. And it was a lot closer than a 5-1 game. It was just Brad Marchand's hat trick made a huge difference, and then Lazar got the empty netter goal.
Well, yeah.
Then they play the Flyers last Thursday, I believe, where Pasternak gets a hat trick, and Tuca had a nearly perfect save percentage despite giving up 2 goals, one to Atkinson, one to Farabi of the Flyers. One of them, when the Bruins get a power play, the whole key is when a team's stupid enough to get a penalty, the Bruins can take the advantage when they have the power play. I think they're one of the top 5 power plays in the NHL this season.
Really?
Yes, really. Like I told you, this was an ESPN game too, so first time the Bruins were on ESPN since 2004 during their last TV deals. As I don't know if you're aware, Versace, not only are they no longer on NBC and NBCSN, the NHL has 2 separate TV deals. One on TNT, which caused AEW to go on TBS, and you got one with ESPN, ESPN Plus, and ABC. So for a major sports league that doesn't draw so well in the U.S. nationally, they were able to get good TV deals.
Oh, for sure.
And Hulu's going to stream a game, NHL games too.
No, that's very true. To say, well, very true indeed.
Especially the fact that they're no wonder why they're getting killed by the Hurricanes tonight. I put it on, watched a few minutes of it. It makes sense when you play the Flyers and Canadians, some of the most physical franchises of all time. Of course, you're gonna feel it right in the body and have to keep up with the stamina and speed. It's not easy to play this game of hockey.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
Yeah, and then this Saturday at the afternoon, they played the. They had a home and home series, so if you went to the Celtics game, you weren't going to watch the Patriots. You were probably better off anyways. They do it usually Black Friday every year, where one team plays in the afternoon, the other plays at night, and the Bull Run crew at the TD Garden unhooks the ice, puts the
Sounds like
courting
you're
pads on.
probably honestly better off watching or going to Proving Grounds Rumble.
Ha ha ha. Oh yeah, the you were better off. At least you were nice and warm
You
in there.
were, and congratulations to Sean Leader for winning that, taking that home.
Oh really?
Big victory. And it'll be Leader versus Montero 2 at the next PG event.
Ooh. Anyway, so nice catchphrase. The Bruins did was struggling with the Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators were have emerged, and they did
I
make the.
can't believe that, they've changed a lot of names in sports, but they haven't changed the Predators yet. Why?
I don't know because their logo looks like a saber tooth tiger from the Power Rangers, unlike actual. pedos.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a bad name. I don't get it. I
Yeah.
don't see it. You know.
Who would ever thought there'd be predators in Nashville? They're all country singers, aren't they? Well, I should know that more than you, but you know.
Down in Tennessee, who knows? Anything can happen.
Just like anything can happen in the world of the VSW.
And it does. Anything does happen here. You know, we have a lot of things coming up, a lot of cool things coming up, but anything can happen.
Yes, so the Bruins, I'll check the TV for the live look of the Bruins game. They're still losing 6-1. It's not good against the Carolina Hurricane. Believe it or not, a lot of the Sun Belt hockey teams are really good this year. You had the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first two seeds of the Atlantic Division that the Bruins are in. And in
Really?
order to make the playoffs, Versace, you need to either be a top three, and there's two divisions in each conference, the Eastern and Western. You have to be either in top three of the divisions, or there's wild cards where two seeds get in.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, so the Bruins are getting killed. Oof, 7-1 against the Carolina
You know, and
Hurricanes.
I swear when the Patriots lose and do bad, all the other Boston teams just kind of fall apart.
The Bruins are from giving up 7 goals. Well, it sounds like that each of the Carolina Hurricanes players, it all started with a power play goal from Shavanikov or whatever. I can't pronounce these Eastern European names that well. I apologize, folks. You got Slavin on a power play. It looks the Bruins had a lot of penalties tonight. It all started with Eric Hula for high sticking, then McAvoy got interference. So the crowd in TD Garden must not be too thrilled right now. But you would think with three penalties for the Hurricanes in the second period, the Bruins, with one of the best power plays in the league, was able to capitalize. No, no, no.
You would think, but
But I can't believe it's such a lopsided game that the Bruins just looks like all good things have to come to an end, Versace.
no, this is true.
Especially honoring Willie O'Ree too. But at least Taylor Hall had that game-winning overtime goal. If you heard my Wolfcast in the beginning days during the postseason, he was an off-season acquisition. Imagine if we picked him in the first pick 10 years ago when I graduated high school over Tyler Sagan. Everything would have been way better. You know,
Oh yeah.
Sagan had success with the Stars. I think he partied too much. Might have slept with the GM's daughter. You know how bad that is in
Who?
the professional world. Tyler
Who?
Sagan.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, so on a night where Willie O'Ree was on, you'd think they would have a better performance. His his retiring was supposed to happen last year, but obviously due to the COVID pandemic, had to be delayed a few times. He got inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2018.
Really?
Yeah, he doesn't get the credit like Jackie Robinson or
No,
Hank
no, no.
did
That's
in
what you're
breaking the
saying.
color
No,
barrier, you know? And
no.
it was a very appropriate day after Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, it was. That is very appropriate indeed. And you're right. They don't get really the respect nor the right credit.
Absolutely, but I'll talk a little bit about the Bruins right now, and then I'll move on to the Celtics, and then we'll go back to football.
Sounds good, Wolf. While you talk a little bit about that, I think I'm gonna go fix myself a snack.
Ooh, take your time. It's my Wolfcast, Versace. Well, the people are doing the wave. You have Willie O'Ree being honored. It's been a great time to be a Bruins fan as we got Connor Clifton and Mac Reslick back from protocol. as the defense has been banged up with COVID and everything, whether it was Charlie McAvoy, Greslick. The Bruins should be going on a string. Swayman did play okay, decently. He had some bad games, gave up a lot of bad goals during Tuukka Rask absence from a injury from a playoff game against the Islanders a year ago. Tuukka was on the shelf for like 6 months. And coming into this game, it's the Carolina Hurricanes are doing really great this year. And the last time these two play played, the Bruins lost on the road. It's the second time since December 13th that the Hurricanes played a road game. Holy cow. No wonder why they're doing so well. The NHL scheduled most of their home games in the middle of the season, and that makes a huge difference. Facing a Bruins team that won five in a row and 8 out of their last 10. And so the Bruins were able to get a kill in the Carolina Hurricanes when 35 consecutive penalties killing off. That's almost a NHL record. So I'm going to move on to the Celtics in a little bit, as I am very surprised at how well the Bruins are able to pick up. I knew they had it in them, but a lot of people in Boston seems to be Debbie Downers and started to give up on them. I'm going to move on when Versace gets back. We're going to talk about some Boston Celtics, shall we? Before I move on, while Versace gets back, I want to thank you all for bearing with the VSW. Thank you all for making the last two Wolfcasts not only the most Wolfcast views in history, most of the VSW live views, not counting all our great wrestling shorts that we produce on a daily basis from going to shows monthly or a few times a month. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys rock, getting the VSW what it is today. That is very good. It is time to talk about the Celtics. So the so the current standings are the Celtics are actually tied with the Raptors and the Wizards. Who would ever thought the Toronto Raptors would be one game out of the spot after winning their first ever franchise NBA championship a few years ago, right before the pandemic? The Celtics have gone 7-3 in the last 10 games, but they are facing a 23-22 record. They've been in and out without Jaylen Brown or just Jason Tatum all season. They haven't played together a lot. And believe it or not, the Boston Celtics did play during the night when the Patriots were playing the Bills. They played the Chicago Bulls. No, not the Jordan ones or even the Derrick Rose ones who always got banged up, but the Chicago Bulls. They did lose to the New York Knicks the next day, though. As of now, the Celtics, if the season ended today, they would be fighting in the playoffs. What they'd have to participate in new NBA play-in that they implemented during the pandemic when they were in the Walt Disney World bubble. The Celtics would the seventh and the 10th seed would play each other, and the eighth and ninth seed play each other. And whoever wins those games doesn't have to play another play-in game the next day. Whoever loses have to play each other, and the loser of that game is eliminated from the playoffs. So, the Boston Celtics have came off a season where they got destroyed by the Brooklyn Nets of Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant last year. But Kyrie Irving, due to the COVID protocols, has only been able to play road games, and that's been very recently. While I wait for Versace, I'm going to look up their last few games. So the Celtics been playing. They played yesterday, Martin Luther King Day, against the Pelicans, and they played the Chicago Bulls Saturday night during that Patriots game. So I didn't get to watch that. But they were winning three in a row against the Knicks and back to back against the Pacers. But their trouble started facing the 76ers, led by Joel Embiid, who's been a great center for the Philadelphia Sixers, one of the best in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics did pretty good in the shot chart, but who led the team in the Celtics and rebounds is another center, Robert Williams. He's really emerged and become a great defender. They made their shots in a better percentage than Philly, but Philly out outdid them because the Celtics had 10 more turnovers than them. And like we said, turnovers are deadly, including the Patriots game where it came back to haunt them. And look who's back.
What are you talking about, Hansons? Yeah.
I changed the subject to the Celtics, Versace.
Oh, nice. How are they doing these days? I mean, I don't get the chance to watch much basketball. Not like I
They
used to.
they really struggled at the beginning of the season due to the COVID protocols, and a lot of players like Jason Tatum had to miss a few games. Jalen Brown, their two best players, they haven't played with each other a lot this year. So they have a mixed record of 23-22. But the good news is that they are won 7 out of their last 10, and they are picking things up. And I'm talking about their loss to the Philadelphia 76ers last week.
Really?
Yeah, even though Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum do get to play a lot of those minutes, they scored 20 and 21 points respectively in that game. But it's sad that one of the bench players, Pritchard, had to come in and score 17 points, while their other starters, Schroeder, Hortford, and Williams, scored less than 20 points put together. That made a huge difference. And they had 10 turnovers against a Philadelphia team led by Curry. They have Drummond on the bench. They got Harris as their point forward. And Joel Embiid, who's been amazing for the 76ers, leading this franchise around.
So you have a good
And I'll
thing.
and I'm gonna look.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, overall, if you had to just look at Boston as a whole, how we doing? Out of 100% being, four championship teams, 0% being four losers, what would you rate Boston right now?
Thankfully, people, the way you see New England people talk about, you would think would be low on that end. But in reality, they have uh they have probably between the 60 and 70 range because none of their teams have made it far in the playoffs. The furthest that was made in the playoffs was the Red Sox this year, making it to the ALCS. They were in last place last year in the pandemic shortened season, lost to the Houston Astros in the ALCS, who went on to win the World Series.
Really?
And you have the Celtics, who got swept by the Brooklyn Nets last year. The Nets are one of the best teams in the NBA right now.
Okay, so I mean, let's face it. Yeah, you have you. Would you say you have a young Boston team?
I think the Celtics are really, really young. And obviously, the Patriots are hybrid with veterans and young. Most of their offense is young, but most of their defense are veterans for the Patriots. But you get the Celtics have a lot of young players, which
Imagine if I was just thinking of something funny. Well, imagine if veterans in professional sports were treated like veterans in wrestling on the indie scene, and you had these guys be like, "Hey, McCoy, you haven't played in a long, long time. You want to come and just play Sunday for nothing for free?"
Oh, I know, right? That wouldn't go so well. You'd have the whole world talking about that
It
Versace.
would be hilarious though if that's how things were. Only in professional wrestling do you get people that are veterans in a sport, and they get their paycheck gets less and less. But
Absolutely, but the Celtics did win, beat the Chicago Bulls on Saturday. We were
ooh,
probably better off watching that game. Nikola Vuacek for the Chicago Bulls. Like I said, I have a tough time pronouncing
what'd
these
you say?
names.
Michael Jordan on the Bulls, Larry Bird was on the Celtics.
No, Scottie Pippen wasn't there, and Dennis Rodman's probably in North Korea promoting the game. Sorry,
Wrong,
Versace.
wrong, wrong era, wrong decade.
Exactly, you got my point now. Talking about the present Boston sports, Versace.
Oh, well, I sometimes like to talk about the good old days.
Yeah, even though Jason Tatum made a bad pass in that game against the Bulls, they were able to win it when Jalen Brown hit a free from the corner within a minute six left.
Yeah. So
So
I
the
mean,
Celtics won. They went up 22-22. And the starters did way better this game, but they had a lot of players on the bench to the coach's decision. But they were able to win against the Bulls. They got the team to step up. And the next game they did play yesterday on Martin Luther King Day, but due to the Monday night playoff game, Versace, the M- the NBA played them during the day.
really, why was
Yep,
that?
was good. They beat the New Orleans Pelicans, who was supposed to have a really good year.
Fly, pelican, fly.
Yeah, it ain't the Hornets or it ain't the Jazz.
Oh
They had
boy.
a better field goal percentage. We are so lucky in Boston to have Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. It was so blessed, but we need to do more for them. We need to sign good players to assist them
Well, yeah, that would be nice. I mean,
because Tatum's been
one
carrying this
person
team.
doesn't make a team. I mean,
In the
everybody knows
NBA, it
that.
kind of just ask
Everybody needs
LeBron James,
backup
Kevin Durant.
players. Michael Jordan didn't do it alone. Larry Bird didn't do it alone. They had
No,
Parrish, they had Pippen.
Kobe
Even
never did it alone.
no, and L.A. was always stacked. And same thing with San Antonio and Duncan.
Tim
Never did it
Duncan,
alone. He
David
had a
Robinson,
stacked team down there as well. They were stacked all the times. Even the Lakers of the past, they were stacked. These were stacked teams. Okay, even
but
when the Celtics made their second runs, it wasn't just one player. We had a trio, a quad of players. That's
but
what teams are made of. A bunch of,
what
especially in
really hurts
basketball. You need
the
these
Celtics
support
is that
players.
Marcus Smart is a great defensive player, but he's been on and off all season with injuries, and he remains in COVID protocol. He makes a huge difference. It allows Tatum to hit those 3 point shots when he's able to get the rebounds to set up the offense, like Robert Williams.
But
So the Celtics are finally, I think, getting back to a rhythm, winning two in a row. They play the Charlotte Hornets tomorrow night. But we're going to talk more about the Bruins and Celtics for the rest of the year. I want to go back to football. Is that okay, Versace?
hell yeah, we got to go back to football. I mean, it's playoff season,
It sure as hell is.
and I mean, let's talk about what this pitcher is looking like.
Okay, do you have it on you?
Do I have what?
The playoff picture, bud. Or I can just say it, bud.
Oh, I mean, I can look at it if you want. I figured
I
you
can
had this.
memorize
I
it.
figured you had this stuff memorized.
Of course, I have this stuff memorized. You're the graphics guy. So, the upcoming picture we'll talk about. We'll end it with recapping the Patriots like we did at the beginning of this show. But before the Patriots, you had the Cincinnati Bengals face off against the former Oakland, now Las Vegas Raiders with a 26-19 victory. Joe Burrow led the Cincinnati to their first playoff win in 31 years, and they even joked about with the memes that last time the Bengals won the playoff game, you couldn't use a text messaging. So no one's ever sent a text in the history about the Bengals winning a football game. That's a pretty big deal. Browns to South Beach and faced the Philadelphia Eagles in the 31-15 win. But the only good game of this wild card weekend was to battle of two franchises. It was a Nickelodeon game. You could have watched it on Nickelodeon, Versace. You had
Real? Oh yes,
Patrick
with
not knowing
Paramount
what a football
Plus.
game was.
That is totally true.
You got the field get slimed on.
It's crazy what owns what.
Heartbreaking for the Cowboys fans as they once they make the playoffs, no matter how high flying Dak Prescott and their offensive receivers are, they always find a way to not do well in the playoffs. And they were undisciplined, having 10 penalties yesterday.
Really?
Yep, and the nightcap was the most anticipated AFC game. Patrick Mahomes and the defending three-time AFC champions, Kansas City Chiefs, faced the Pittsburgh Steelers in what would have been Ben Roethlisberger's final game, as he said he was retiring this year, as the offense was too much for Big Ben and the terrible Tower to overcome, with Patrick Mahomes throwing five touchdown passes, including to each of his receivers, Tyreek Hill, tight end Travis Kelsey. You also had Travis Kelsey fake at the fourth beginning of the fourth quarter, pass to Pringle as he was the quarterback in the end zone. Talk about insult to injury for the end of Ben Roethlisberger's career.
Oh, I know. I know.
So, and last night, for the first time ever, Monday Night Football's been a huge staple since it was invented on ABC. Now on ESPN, they had their first ever playoff game on Monday night with the battle between the fifth and fourth seed NFC West rivals between the Odell Beckham and the Los Angeles Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams taking on the high flying Kyler Murray without DeAndre Hopkins. Arizona Cardinals, who started the year off 7-0 undefeated. But it was a rout with two with a lot of turnovers by the Arizona Cardinals, and he had Odell Beckham Jr., the free agent from Cleveland Browns that was let go. Often a head case, but he's a really talented player. He got his name to fame on a Sunday night game, making a David Tyree catch against the Dallas Cowboys. But the LA Rams have won, and they're taking on Tom Brady and the Bucks next weekend. I'll talk about the games this coming weekend for the divisional round.
Well, yeah. I mean, we got like I said, you got Kansas City and Buffalo, the Bengals in Tennessee, L.A. and Tampa and San Fran and Green Bay.
Yep.
This is a very straight. I mean, I think this
I'm
is.
not gonna lie. I'm pretty disappointed not getting that Dallas Tampa Bay matchup. I know the networks at Fox are too, so I'm not the only
No, but
one.
you got some pretty good matchups in here.
You really do, including that Kansas City Buffalo game, a rematch of the AFC Championship.
You know, so it's quite exciting. And to be honest, I mean, like I said, I mean, the Pats didn't make it. It's kind of too bad, but I mean, not every year, I guess, is going to be New England's year. Now, out of these teams I'm looking at, and I have to say, you know, I'm all for Tampa Bay.
I am too. I know some people feel mixed about rooting for Tom Brady, but I'm not sure I'm going to root for him in the Super Bowl. But I really want a rematch. I want a second Brady Aaron Rodgers matchup. I hope to see Tampa Bay Green Bay in the NFC Championship game. And I really am looking forward to. I know
Actually,
it's
to be honest with you, I want to see at the finals. I want to see Tampa Bay and Buffalo.
that's pretty interesting. I know Bills Mafia would be killing for that Super Bowl opportunity.
I think it's gonna, and it might even happen. Buffalo has a very strong momentum now. You got to remember they just knocked out the Patriots. That's a big victory.
And whenever a team beats the Patriots, everyone gets so excited.
They do, and those hometown fans are going to be probably talking about
But
that
I do
victory
think
for
Kansas
years to
City's
come.
for real, and I think they start off 3-4 as well as the Patriots. It's the first time Patrick Mahomes struggled in the beginning of the season all year. They had some injury bugs, but you got. I think it's going to be Kansas City and Tennessee in the AFC Championship game. Tennessee's getting Derrick Henry back, who was the top 10 in NFL touchdowns, and he hasn't played since week 8. He would have broken all kinds of records if he hadn't got hurt in the regular season. He was on my fantasy team.
No way.
Yes, way.
Really?
Yeah,
So, I
really.
mean, I think, I mean, it is anybody's game. Like I said, and I said it last time, football is one of those things. If you're having a good day and you have a good game, guess what? You're going to win. And,
Absolutely.
sometimes just a bad day makes you lose the whole thing. Did the Patriots have a bad game? I don't know. They had a mediocre season, is what they had. But we've also seen times when the Pats have been all the way undefeated, all the way to the Super Bowl, and had a bad day.
Like, not as bad as all my years, the 25 plus years I've been watching football, Versace, since I was a toddler. I've never seen a bad defensive performance. Buffalo's the first team in NFL history, took them years to do it. To have touched perfect game, they have touchdowns in all their drives. Never happened before.
Oh, I know.
That
Tell
they
me
didn't
about it.
punt, get a field
Tell
goal,
me about it.
fumble, turnover. The Patriots look slow. I said my X factor last week was going to be Kyle Van Noy was going to have to help Judon with the pass rush to slow down Josh Allen. Didn't even come close to happening. I saw he outran both Van Noy, Judon, and an injured Barrymore who was able to play.
Yeah.
He had you had Devin Singletary who rushed for 2 touchdowns. I knew they weren't going to stop Buffalo if they gave up 2 touchdowns and 100 plus yards to Isaiah McKenzie when Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley during the second game was on COVID protocol.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was kind
And you
of.
only had Damian Harris get 30 rushing yards, and Stevenson wasn't able to get going either. But a standout from this game was Kendrick Bourne having 7 catches for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. But outside, we all thought Hunter Henry was going to have a monster game once in the beginning of the first Patriots drive I talked about earlier. He had this nice 30-yard bomb catch. He was targeted 3 other times and didn't catch one of them. So you can't blame it all on Mac Jones and the offense. I'm very proud of how he played this year. He had a lot of mistakes, but he made a lot of great plays too.
No, definitely, definitely.
But J.C. Jackson didn't have a good game, neither did Devin McCourty.
No.
Kyle Duggar was too much of an overcut. Lawrence Guy got really outburnt this whole game by Josh Allen and Devin Singletary. Judon wasn't himself. He was leading the league in sacks, getting 12, but he hasn't had a sack in his last 4 games.
Well, yeah. And I mean, that's an issue. That's some kind of personal issue. I mean, when you're not performing up to par, I mean, but I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting year for football. I do look forward to it though. I always look forward to every playoff season game,
Uh,
and like I said, Wolf, I'm saying maybe Tampa Bay, but who knows? It could be the LA versus Green Bay. We could see the Titans versus KC. We might see KC
we
versus
might
San
see San
Fran in the
Francisco
finals.
upset Green Bay.
You might see Green Bay versus Buffalo in the finals. You might see the Bengals versus Tampa Bay in the finals. You might see the Titans win the whole thing. Remember the Titans. You might see all sorts of matchups here. Anything can happen, and it's really it's a great time in football because this is the time when these matches really count. They're big. This is when every match feels like that WrestleMania feel. Um, you know.
Absolutely, Versace. It's win or go home. There's no best of seven series in these elements.
Nope, and that's the thing about football. There is none of that. It is do or die all the time.
Absolutely. So before I sign off for the night, Versace, I'm very proud of how the Patriots played this season. Mac Jones has a lot of ups and downs. He had 22 passing touchdowns. He did more than Tom Brady's rookie or second year, rather. He didn't play his rookie year. But you have the running game have a huge potential. We just got to keep Stevenson and Damian Harris. But a lot of these players on defense, a lot of people want to rehaul their defense. Some of the veterans we need to keep. A lot of them are going to be unrestricted free agents. So it's going to be interesting to see how Bill Belichick does in the offseason. We got a
No, it
lot of
will.
guys
It
to know
will.
the
It
formula.
will. It will.
I'm very excited for next year already. And it's big for Wolfcast because I'm gonna do a sign up on VSW for every once the schedule gets released. We all know their opponents for next year. They play the NFC North, which has the Bears and Lions come to town. Oh my. They go to Green
Oh
Bay and
my is
Minnesota.
right.
What's that?
Oh my is right. I love to go to the Bears game. I haven't been to a Bears game in a very, very long time.
Okay, we'll have to have one of our good friends, Sydney Buckabella, come on the Wolfcast next year.
Will we will.
We'll have to have well they obviously play the AFCs, but they have a second place schedule. They play the Las Vegas Raiders. They also play the Indianapolis Colts, and they play I think the Philadelphia Eagles because they do a 18th game, and I think the AFC East and NFCs plays each other every year for the extra.
Really?
Yeah, because this year the Patriots played the Cowboys in that extra game because both teams finished third place last year.
Ah.
Yes, absolutely. So very excited. We also play the AFC North. We go to Pittsburgh and Cleveland, but we got Baltimore and Cincinnati coming too next year.
Do we?
Yes, we do. And the Ravens will probably be healthy. They started off 8-4. They Lamar Jackson that got injured and they lost most of their running backs all year, including Gus Edwards, Hill. They lost a lot of running backs this year for the Baltimore Ravens. So that's going to be a game to watch for next year.
Hmm.
Mark
It
Andrews has
will.
become one of the best tight ends in football. They got a we got Judon from the Ravens, so that was an amazing pickup.
Yes,
So
it was.
so I would like to thank you all for watching this Beantown Sports Wolfcast. Follow the VSW, follows Versace Streams, and we'll see you next week. This Sir Wolf signing out.